Welcome to Football Unspoken, the home of unique football takes. I'm gonna throw it to you, Josh, on the first one with the unspoken moment of the season. What's your unspoken or memorable moment of the season?
I'll be surprised if you even know this one. So this isn't this. There's a Premier League team, but the match wasn't played in the Premier League. It was actually a Europa game or a conference game. So Aston Villa in the quarterfinals, they went to penalties to go through. I actually now it was kind of bad. I can't remember who they played, but I was watching that match, and early in the second half, Martinez got a yellow card for time wasting in the match, and the game ended up going to penalties. And then he got another yellow card during the penalty shootout, but no one realized this was a second yellow, so he just carried on. And then after the game, UEFA announced that he had a huge ban, which is why he couldn't then play in the semi-final, and they ended up losing 4-2 to Olympiacos. I'm not saying necessarily him alone was the reason they lost that game, but obviously it was a big blow to the team that he couldn't then play in the semi-final. And I just thought that was the last time that happened where we had two yellow cards and the player didn't actually get the red was there was that bizarre case. It was in a World Cup game where there was one player who got three yellows in one game. There was something very weird like that. That was over a decade ago. So yeah, for me that was just a bizarre moment I'll remember for a long time.
That's a great moment, actually, and it's definitely one that kind of slipped the mind. So I appreciate you reminding me. I do know that there's a weird law change that happened recently, and that's why he didn't get the red card. It was because like once the penalty starts, the yellow cards that happen in the game are null and void, or not null and void, but like it's always like starting a new game. So it was a really strange thing, and I think because of that explanation, it's kind of just been pushed under the rug again. But yeah, it was a very, very weird scenario. I do appreciate you bringing that back to mind. For mine, I'm gonna go. It's a little bit other end of the spectrum, where it's a bit upsetting, a bit rogue, but it's definitely something that was huge news for a lot of for like 2 weeks, and then no one's really spoken about it again. But it's Tom Lockyer from Luton, and in December against Bournemouth, where he collapsed for the second time in under a year or something on the football pitch, and it's probably, I don't think he will play football again. It hasn't been confirmed that he's going to retire, but I mean, it's just another one of those sad moments of a player collapsing on a football pitch. And that game obviously got postponed, and it was a whole big ordeal. Which I just say it's one of those where it's something that I'm going to remember from this season, Tom Lockyer's situation, but it's not something that I've seen spoken about really since the turn of the year.
Yeah, I agree with that. Something I'll say is I feel like maybe the intensity of the Premier League, or just where modern European football is going, is showing in the amount of players we are seeing collapses. And prior to Fabrice Muamba, who collapsed, that was about a decade ago, 10 to 15 years ago. But since then, I can't remember, I'm not saying it never happened, but I can't really remember many players collapsing prior to that. But since then, we've had Eriksen and Nokia at Luton twice. We've had a few more. It almost feels like the frequency is slowly creeping up as the intensity of the games. We're having we're increasing the ball and play time, so that's more intensity on the body, more matches being played. And it feels like we're having more players collapsing now in the league, which is something that probably should be analyzed a bit more heavily, that there's a correlation there, or seemingly a correlation, between the increase of intensity and the amount of players collapsing on field.
Yeah, I'd be very interested to see that analysis come out at some point soon, especially around player safety, But finally, Josh, we're going to get to the main event of the night. We're going to go to our sausage of the year, where we're just going to pick our player, our player who's just performed like a sausage, done something entirely ridiculous, or just deserves to be recognized for the infamy that he's kind of brought onto his name. And I'm going to start us off with just an honorable mention, I think, to VAR through this entire season. I mean, from Joe Willock's goal against Arsenal to the Liverpool offside to Anthony Gordon getting his sock cut off by a Man United player and it not being a penalty. There'd be too many moments to not mention it for the Sausage Award. But if you have a nomination, I would love to hear who your nomination is.
Yeah, I'm glad you went to VAR as an honorable mention because mine is not a current player; it's a retired player times two actually. And I want to give the Sausage Award joint shared by Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher. And the reason is when that whole Nottingham Forest incident happened with the three penalties that weren't given, when they went to the studio after and the presenter was asking them, guys, what do you think of the three penalties that weren't given? They were like, no, no, no. But Nottingham Forest made a tweet. And it's like, okay, cool. They did make a tweet and it wasn't a great tweet. We can talk about that. That's not a problem. Can you please just answer the question about were those three Stonewall penalties? Brackets, yes, they were. What do you think of that? And it's like, no, 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 tweet. And you're, no, shut up about the tweet now. Like, we'll deal with the tweet. Please answer the question and stop avoiding it over and over. So from that behavior, for me, Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher were the sausages of the season.
I think that's that is a great shout. But I'm going to throw my sausage nomination, and my sausage nomination is going to be Ivan Toney. And the reason I'm going to put Ivan Toney is because this bloke's come back, and he's been obviously supported through this whole ordeal by Brentford. Brentford would be fantastic around him with his ban. But throughout this entire time, he's still been going like, I don't see my long-term future at Brentford. I see myself as a £100 million player. I see myself moving to a big six club. I want to be winning trophies. That's what I want to be doing. And it's like, mate, you just been banned. And then he's come back. He's played 16 games and he scored 4 goals. And it's a bit like, yeah, don't get me wrong, Brentford have played better since he's come back, but they haven't lit up the league. You know, they haven't raced away from relegation. It was still in shouts for relegation a couple of weeks ago. So like, the fact that he's gone, I'm Bertie Big Bollocks, and then hasn't really performed, and now all the transfer speculation has died down, just kind of puts him in the sausage category to me.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really astute shout of you. I can't give you shouts of the day because that Brighton call was still the best one, but I thought you were going to just say he's been a bit sausage since he's come back and he was talking big game. But I was going to say the point what he was talking about, yeah, I'm just coming back to the end of the year. Then I'm going off to Barca, Real Madrid, Juventus or whatever. So I totally agree with you there. I also just think it's after being caught out for the gambling debacle that it's not like he was injured and he was saying this stuff. It's because he was doing silly stuff in the first place to get himself into that position. And as you said, Brentford had stood by him. And I'm not convinced from his performances since he came back, he's going to get that big contract he's been talking about.
I think both of us have had some very good shouts for sausage of the season. And what I'm going to do is I actually think that I would like to hear what our viewers have to say about our sausage of the season, whether they agree with our opinions from this year on our overhated and underhated players and teams. Especially on the sausage, I would love to know if there's any players who deserve a bigger shout out than the ones that we've spoken about. I'm personally going to say I like Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville for sausage of the season. That they're going to get my vote. I think that's a very good shout because they have been sausages. Josh, do you have a last opinion, a last say?
No, the last thing I was just going to say, the reason this is ironic, because I was going to vote for Ivan Toney, not to be nice to you. The only reason I thought it was a better shout is I thought some people might have thought of the Jamie Carragher one and Gary Neville, but I didn't think many people would have, I never would have thought of Ivan Toney. If you'd given me 5 sausages of the season, I wouldn't have thought of Ivan Toney. So I liked the acuteness of your call there.
Well, I appreciate it. And this has been the 23-24 Football Unspoken Awards. Please let us know your guys' opinion on it. And from us to you, have a great weekend. See you later. Bye.